Stage 1. The newcomer your first day, you want to turn around and walk straight back out. Nothing bad has happened. It's just that the gym is a room fluent in a language everyone else already speaks, and you're standing there without a single word of it. You can feel the gap. There's a guy at the bench loading plates with the kind of quiet precision that only comes from 10,000 repetitions. There's a woman on the cable stack whose form looks weightless, because somewhere along the way it stopped being effort and became instinct. And then there's you by the door, gripping your new membership card, suddenly aware your shirt is a size too big, pretending to scan the floor for equipment, when really you're just waiting for someone to hand you a manual. You end up on the treadmill. The treadmill asks nothing of you that you don't already understand. Feet down, button pressed, legs moving, 20 minutes at a pace you call warming up, which is, in fact, just your pace. Afterward, you drift toward the free weights. Stand near the dumbbells for about 90 seconds like you're browsing a store you can't afford, and leave. You tell a friend you went to the gym. Technically true. Second visit, same treadmill, same 20 minutes, but this time you add the chest press machine, the guided one with the little diagram of a stick figure showing you what to do. You copy the picture. 3 sets, a weight you guessed at because nobody told you otherwise, and it turns out to be too light, though you won't know that for weeks. Still, you walk out feeling like something happened. You can't name it, but something did. 3 visits the first week, 2 the second, 1 the third, 0 the fourth, because life intervened the way it always does. Then week 5 arrives with that particular flavor of guilt that only unused gym memberships seem to manufacture, and you start again. Stage 2. The beginner with a plan. You find a program not from a coach, but from an online forum where people who've spent years under a bar explain the fundamentals to people who haven't. 3 sessions a week, squat, bench, deadlift. The 3 movements that have anchored strength training since long before you were born, and will still be anchoring it long after every fitness trend currently flooding your feed has been forgotten. You start learning the vocabulary, reps, sets, and eventually the idea of progressive overload, the principle that a muscle only keeps adapting if you keep asking more of it. It sounds almost too obvious to write down. And yet you catch yourself in the mirror doing curls with the exact same dumbbells you picked up 3 months ago. Understanding a rule and living by it turn out to be 2 very different things. You also have your first real gym conversation. A man in his 40s, watching you set up for squats, asks if you'd like a few pointers. You say yes, you've been faking your way through the movement for 2 months, and there's no judgment in how he's offered. He adjusts your bar placement, your stance, your depth, reminds you to push your knees outward, and 3 reps later you've done a squat that bears almost no resemblance to anything you'd done before. You thank him. He nods and returns to his own set. You replay that exchange in your head for 2 days straight. The numbers on the bar wouldn't impress a stranger, but measured against where you started, the gap is real, and it means something. You're stronger, not in a way anyone can see yet, but the stairs feel different now. Carrying groceries feels different. Your body is quietly rebuilding itself whether or not you're paying attention. Stage 3, the committed beginner 6 months in, and your gym bag has a specific inventory now, not whatever was lying around, but deliberate choices. A lifting belt you don't technically need yet, bought early because you've watched enough videos to know the day is coming, and buying it felt like declaring intent. Wrist wraps. A small bag of chalk you use quietly since the gym doesn't officially allow it. A shaker bottle with a protein powder you researched more thoroughly than people usually research decisions 10 times more expensive. You've also developed opinions, firm, confident ones about programming, about which exercises are worth your time and which are theater, about the people around you who clearly don't know what they're doing. 6 months ago, you were one of them. You've conveniently left that detail out of your new certainty. Protein has entered your consciousness in a way nothing else in your diet ever has. You track grams. Most days you hit your number. The days you don't produce a small, technically unreasonable but very real pang of failure. Chicken is now a weekly ritual, batch cooked every Sunday evening, a routine your roommates have stopped questioning and simply accepted as background noise. You're at the gym 5 days a week now. The days you skip don't feel like guilt. Exactly, they feel like something's missing, a piece removed from the shape of your week. Training has quietly become structural. Stage 4, the intermediate a year in, and the change is visible enough that people who haven't seen you in a while comment on it carefully, like they're not sure how to phrase what they're noticing. You're bigger, leaner. Your posture has shifted because the muscles supporting your spine are simply different now. You carry yourself differently, and you're aware of it, and you try not always successfully not to show that awareness. Your lifts have climbed, not by the standards of someone who's been at this for a decade, but dramatically against your own starting line. Your squat has roughly doubled. Your bench is up by numbers that would have sounded implausible 12 months ago. The deadlift remains the most satisfying of the three, because there's nothing to overthink about it. You pick a heavy thing off the floor, and the thing keeps getting heavier, and that's proof, undeniable and physical. Then comes your first real plateau. 8 months of near-linear progress just stops. You load the bar, attempt the set you'd normally complete, and fail not from lack of effort, but because the weight simply refuses to move. You've reached the point where showing up and following the program isn't enough anymore. Progress now demands actual understanding of why the program works, and adjusting it takes more knowledge than you currently have. You fall slightly in love with accessory workface pulls, cable rows, preacher curls, all the smaller movements that exist to support the big three, but somehow become their own obsession, their own personal records, their own reason to linger in the gym longer than strictly necessary. You also start noticing things you'd have missed before. The guy who's shown up every single day for 3 years and looks exactly the same as he did on day one, because he's doing the same routine on repeat, the living opposite of progressive overload. You take note of him with the quiet horror of someone who's just learned the rule he's breaking and desperately doesn't want to become him. Stage 5. The regular 2 years in, and the staff know your name, not all of them, but enough. You've got a preferred time slot, a preferred sequence of equipment, a route through the gym floor shaped by 2 years of knowing exactly when things get busy and when they don't. You know which days the squat rack turns into a bottleneck. You know who to ask for a work-in and who, based on prior experience, will stretch 5 minutes into 25. Training has folded itself into your identity. Not the whole of it, but a piece you genuinely miss, which would have baffled the version of you who once stood frozen by the entrance clutching a membership card. You help someone, unprompted, for the first time. You spot a person setting up for squats in a way that's clearly headed toward an injury, and you offer to help. They accept. You show them what you know, the correction visibly improves their form, and afterward they thank you. You nod and go back to your set. You think about it for 2 days. You realize, belatedly, that you've become the man in his 40s. Nutrition has stopped being a mystery and become a working system. You know roughly what you're eating, roughly what it's made of, roughly how it supports what your training demands. It's not obsessive precision, it's function. The relationship between food and training has become so automatic, you no longer have to consciously think your way through it. Stage 6. The advanced lifter 3 years in, and your numbers on the big three would earn a nod of respect in any serious gym, not elite, but legitimate. You're squatting more than double your body weight. Your bench is closing that gap. Your deadlift surprises people who don't train and impresses the ones who do. None of it arrived overnight. It was built, plate by plate, session by session, out of 1,000 small decisions to add 5 more pounds instead of leaving things where they were. You've cycled through at least 1 bulk and 1 cut, maybe 2 of each. The bulk taught you to accept a rising scale number in exchange for the muscle you were chasing. The cut taught you to accept fading performance in exchange for revealing what you'd built. Both taught you a patience. The lifting itself had only hinted at the result, never shows up during the process. It shows up after. The waiting is the actual work. You've also picked up an injury, nothing dramatic, just a nagging shoulder issue born from an imbalance you ignored for far too long, because fixing it would have meant modifying a program you'd grown attached to, and modification felt like retreat. Eventually you adjust it anyway, and the shoulder heals. The lesson repeats itself everywhere in this pursuit. Knowing something intellectually doesn't stop you from ignoring it in practice. People at the gym start bringing questions to you now. Not as a coach, just as someone who clearly knows the answer and won't make anyone feel small for asking. You answer, then return to your own work. You think of the man in his 40s again, and understand, finally, why he walked away so easily after helping you when you know something deeply enough. You can hand it off without losing any of it yourself. Stage 7, the veteran 5 years in, and the gym has quietly become the most stable fixture in your life. Jobs have come and gone. Relationships have shifted shape. You might even live in a different city than the one you started in. But the squat rack is still the squat rack. The bar is still the bar. The relationship between effort put in and results earned hasn't budged an inch, and that steadiness is something almost nothing else in life offers. You train smarter now, not harder. The two aren't the same thing, and it took years to feel the difference. Going all out every single session produces diminishing returns faster than a well-managed, longer view approach does. You take deload weeks without a shred of guilt. You adjust around fatigue instead of grinding through it, the way younger you used to treat rest as a form of weakness. What looked like weakness back then was actually wisdom you hadn't earned yet. Your physique is the honest result of 5 years of consistent, intelligent effort, not the manufactured promise of some 12-week transformation program. It's not magazine cover material. It's just yours, and it took the full 5 years to actually believe that distinction mattered, and you're still not entirely finished believing it. You find yourself examining your own motives again, this time with more honesty than the question has ever gotten before. It's not really about how you look anymore. It's not purely about strength either. It's about the specific 2 hours where the only thing that matters is you, the bar, and the decision to add weight or not. In a life full of complicated, unresolvable things, this one is refreshingly simple. That's the real reason you keep coming back. Stage 8, the legend's 7 years in this gym, or rather, 7 years in this pursuit, since the specific building matters less than the practice itself. 7 years is long enough that most of the people who started alongside you have moved on, and entire new waves have cycled through, some of them now 4 years deep themselves, watching you as the person who was already here when they arrived. You don't talk much, not out of coldness, but because you've come to understand that the gym passes down more through watching than through words. Most of what actually gets transmitted happens in silence, through observation. The ones eager to learn study you, the same way you once studied the man on the bench during your very first week. You can feel them filing it away. You let it happen without turning it into a show. Your numbers aren't the biggest in the building. They're yours built across 7 years of the same unchanged principle. Add weight, recover, return, add weight again. The exact idea you first read in a forum post in year 1, with everything since built directly on top of it. Today there's someone standing near the entrance, membership card in hand, shirt a size too big, eyeing the equipment like it's a system built specifically to exclude them. You walk past, you let them find their own way through it, the same way you once had to. But you make sure to rack your weights on the way out. The cycle keeps turning, it always does.